G's, 4 G's, yeah. 4 G's, 4 G's, 4 G's, let's go. 4 G's, 4 G's, 4 G's, look. Full syndication, full elevation, all generations, we already made it. 4 G's, 4 G's, 4 G's, yeah. 4 G's, 4 G's, 4 G's, let's go. 4 G's, 4 G's, 4 G's, look. Full syndication, full elevation, all generations, we already made it. We got Shot, Dot, Malcolm, Chris the King, plus the Doc. You know that's like 4 G's. Sports mind. Real world, real problems, real news, real sports. We gon' let you know right here on 4 G's. 4 G's.
Welcome to another episode of 4G Sports. Thank you for subscribing and viewing. But this episode is brought to you by Daphne, Cozy, and My Cozy Creations. All right. So, as always, I'm the OG.
I'm the king.
You know what it is. You got the doc.
And at the bottom of the screen, ladies and gentlemen, this was an interview we were supposed to have a while back, but some good things happened, some bad things happened, and we finally got him. We got our man Doug Mathis in the building. I'm gonna let him introduce himself to you. Introduce yourself, Doug, please.
Yeah, like you said, my name is Doug Mathis. I'm the my official title, I guess, is the co-pitching coach with the Texas Rangers. And like you guys said, I was supposed to hop on with you guys in the summer, but we all know how the summer went down with everybody, and crazy stuff was going on, and I just didn't have time. But I wanted to make time. I wanted to be on the show with you guys, so I'm here now. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys.
Hey, we appreciate it. Like I said, it was some good and bad things. We had lined him up, like you said, it was during the summer. We thought we were gonna get him, and then all of a sudden, baseball was like,
it was on.
It's on.
Yeah, it was on.
So, but we're glad to have him here. All right, we're going to jump right into this.
Okay. I have a kind of like a two-part question. Tell us about the first moment that you hit your first home run, and after you answer that, I'll ask you another question in regards to that.
Okay. Well, so my first home run, I mean, I didn't hit. I pitched as professionally when I played. My first home run, I remember was in Little League at a Little League tournament. But the reason why I remember it so well is that when we played, the fields I played on, we didn't have fences. So I remember when we went to this tournament and they actually had nice fields with fences. So we were like, oh, okay, sweet. And that's all you're trying to do is hit the ball to the fence because we didn't have that. So I remember hitting one during the game and it was cool. But like I said, I was a pitcher. I didn't get many at-bats. I maybe hit in AAA, but struck out a lot as a hitter in pro ball. So didn't really do much damage when I was hitting in pro ball. But
okay. And the second part of my question is, you as a pitcher, I don't know if you want to put any names out there. Have you ever tried to hit somebody on purpose while pitching?
You know what's funny? No, I never have. There's times where, you got to throw inside and maybe act tough and do that whole thing. But the only time I ever got in a situation where maybe it looked like I did was I think we were playing the Angels and I gave up a home run to Chone Figgins, and then I was pissed, and no knock on Chone Figgins. He didn't hit a lot of home runs, so I was mad. He got me. And then the next hitter, I think was Eric Ibar, and I was trying to just throw a fastball inside, and I was pissed, and I actually hit him. But the Angels thought I hit him on purpose. So the next time when we were hitting, I remember Ian Kinsler got thrown at because they thought I was throwing at the hitter after I faced the guy that hit the home run. So. But no, I never hit a guy on purpose. I just never had a situation to really. I mean, there's times you hit guys though, and you're not really sorry about it. So I guess you could say you hit guys. So there's certain guys you hit, you're just like, yeah, whatever. But it's part of the game. It's actually that's the one part of the game that's changed a lot. Is that when guys get hit, it seems like when a guy gets hit, it's like everyone thinks it's on purpose all the time now.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get that out of the game, but I think there is still times and places for not hitting guys, but there are times where you have to you got to send messages and you still got to pitch inside or guys are going to kill you. So you got to be able to do that. So that's part of it.
You got to kind of keep them honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the only people getting thrown out on purpose these days is Houston.
Yeah, that was I actually thought there was going to be more there, but I think early in the year when they had that whole dust up with the Dodgers, it seemed to like they came down pretty hard on Joe Kelly. So I think they were pretty clear. Like, hey, this isn't going to happen. So and guys are going to do that. They'll find a way to do it. I mean, it is what it is,
So before I get into my official question, I'm already doing it, OG. I'm already doing it to you. I got a question related to the answer you had to the King in striking out in the MLB. I've always wondered why pitchers don't seem to be better hitters, because it seems as though you all would have a real good eye for what pitch is coming.
Yeah, well, I mean, hitting is really, 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 really hard. I think that a lot of hitters make it look really easy, but I mean, hitting is extremely hard. Even if you are like a decent hitter in college or high school, and even guys. I mean, there's so many guys that are professional hitters that don't make it to the big leagues, or that don't hit in the big leagues. I think hitting in the major leagues is probably one of the hardest things to do in sports. Not saying that like other sports aren't hard. Like I think playing corner in the NFL is probably one of the hardest things to do too. So, but like hitting a baseball that's moving all over the place, you don't know what's coming. It's coming 95 to 100 miles an hour. Like it's really hard. You can even know it's coming. You're not going to touch it. So, but it takes a lot of skill. It takes timing. Takes physical skill, and I think it's easier than like just saying like, oh, you kind of have an idea of what to do. Like it takes a lot of actually physical skill to get that to be able to hit. So.
I guess we really in Arizona we saw that a lot with Yasmani Tomas, who was pretty good at hitting in the minors, but really couldn't seem to get going in the majors. So, in speaking of the majors, can you kind of give us some insight of what it's like playing in the major leagues? What was your favorite part, and what was your least favorite or least enjoyable?
I mean, playing in the major leagues it's everybody's dream, that wants to play baseball. Like playing in the big leagues, that's where you want to be. You play in every ballpark you play in is beautiful. You go to a lot of great cities. When there is fans, it's great. Going to Yankee Stadium, playing the Yankees, places like that. Going to Boston, playing in Fenway Park. It's everything you would think it is. It's hard to really describe until you really go through it. But I think as a player, I know now I'm on the coaching side. I think as a player, I always like made everything bigger and like thought the stadiums were bigger and the moments were bigger. But now as a coach, it was kind of weird. Like this year as a coach in the major leagues, like I didn't see it that way. The stadiums didn't seem as big. The games didn't seem as fast. But my favorite part of playing the big leagues was just it was a childhood dream, and I was able to do it. And I was playing at the highest level, and I was playing against guys that I admired. Yeah. I didn't play very long, but I had a chance to have the opportunity to do that, and it was amazing. My least favorite part about playing the big leagues was that I just didn't last very long because it was hard. That's why I'm coaching now, is because I absolutely loved it. Like it's the second best thing to playing is coaching, I think, or doing what you want to do, talking about sports or have a job within sports that you can't play. But there's not a lot of things that I didn't like about it. Even like the travel or there's really nothing to complain about in the big leagues, to be honest, unless you get released or cut or like you get a big, you don't get paid what you want to get paid. But when you really like break it down, like you really have probably the best job you're ever going to have. So there's not much to complain about in my opinion. So that's just kind of how I look at it.
And you all had probably of all of the professional sports in baseball, you have the most rigorous travel schedule, I think. Yeah.
It can be pretty bad because there's times where you have, you'll have a 9-game road trip, 10-game road trip, and you're going from like, Texas to Houston, then up to Seattle, and then like maybe back hitting LA on the way back down, and then back to Texas. And like we get a decent amount of off days mixed in there, but it's the longest season too. We play the most games. But yeah, it's like I said, like that can be tough on guys, but it's you ask players like truly. I think that the guys will, because you stay in five-star hotels too, and it's normally like any normal year, it's the best thing you'd want to do. I would never replace it. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Well, watching the playoffs this season and what happened with the Braves against my Dodgers, I loved it. But I was kind of wondering, what's the mindset? What's the mindset of a team that was up 3-1 in a series and going into a game 7?
I think your mindset would be like, man, like, kind of how do we get here? I mean, I've never really experienced that, but I think their mindset was probably like, we still got to win one game. It's still like it was in game 5 and game 6, you still only need to win one game. And yeah, there might be added pressure going into game 7, but I mean, I don't know. I think you might have a little like doubt creep in because you have let them back in, and you had a team like the Dodgers that are really, really good. So you when you're up on teams like that, you want to make sure you get that done as quick as possible, because you saw what can happen when you let a good team kind of get back into it. And I really think that the Dodgers, coming back from that 3-1 deficit really gave them the momentum to go into the World Series and win it, because really, to me, that the Braves series for them was the World Series for them. Even though Tampa was good, I thought the Dodgers really started playing a lot better once they played good in game 5 and game 6 and won game 7. I thought that, okay, they're going to get on a roll now because they're just too good. I mean, they don't have any holes. They're so deep. But I think your mindset is you got to approach it like it's so easier said than done, though. It's like a lot of guys say the same things, like, oh, you just got to approach it like a game. You got to approach it like the same. It's just another game. But in reality, like, that's true. But a lot of guys, I know I wouldn't be feeling that way. I'd be like, man, we got to win tonight. Like, it's as a player now, as a coach, you got to be a little different. You got to be more under control and be more calming for guys. But that's always tough. I mean, but I'm sorry. I was actually pulling for the Braves, even though I don't root against the Dodgers. I wanted to see the Braves win that series. I was a little bummed out that they didn't win that series.
Oh, well, you got to understand, I'm in Atlanta, so I was around nothing but Braves fans. So when they was up 3-1, I was getting all kind of stuff. And then as the series went on, the conversation got less and less and less. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers really showed how good they are too. I mean, even though the Braves are a good team, I think the Dodgers really showed once they started playing well how good and deep they are, and what they can do when they play, their style of baseball. Because I mean, they've been so good the last 7-8 years. I think this year finally, even though it was a short season, like everyone kind of saw like what they've been building there and what they kind of came to kind of capped it with everything with how they came back from that and then how they played in the World Series.
Okay. I've watched the MLB draft before, and I see like a lot of high school kids get drafted to the league. What's the best advice that you can give kids that are drafted right out of high school?
Shoot. I mean, it all depends on what your ultimate goal is. Like, there's so many guys that get drafted, but they have scholarships to go play in college somewhere, or guys that get drafted and they just want to sign and play, and they want to play, be a professional baseball player, and that's all they want to do. My advice to high school guys is just to understand what you're getting into. Like, when this is what it's going to look like when you sign your professional contract. It's going to be your job. You're going to be asked to do things. You're going to be expected to, follow programs. You're going to be, people are basically going to tell you what to do, and because you're an employee technically, So, and if you have a scholarship somewhere, just make sure like if they understand what they're giving up to sign that contract, out of high school. So say a kid has a college scholarship to one of the top schools in the country, and he gets drafted high or even gets drafted a little later, but he ends up signing and he turns down that scholarship or whatever and just he plays, but then he gets hurt, and it's just all the consequences that you have to take into it. Yeah. A lot of guys look at the money aspect of it, which is great. You want to get a good signing bonus, but to me, I think a lot of guys, you want to make sure you're taken care of and that you're valued for where you're signing. But if you really want to truly play, like the most important part is that you make sure you're prepared and you're ready to be a professional baseball player, especially with your mindset and how you're going to approach everything. Because even if you sign for a couple $100,000, like as a high school kid, which is great, that's good money, but 10 years down the road, that money is really not that big a deal. Like your scholarship that you could have had in college is going to be way more valuable moving forward. and your experience and your growth and your maturity that you might have got from college might have helped you out down the road too. So I think everyone's individual. Now, if you get drafted in the first round, and I see all these kids that like they turn down like $4, $5, $6 million, like those are the kids I would say you sign that contract right away. You never know when you're going to get that chance to make that much money at that age right now, and then you're going to have an opportunity to be a Major League Baseball player too, and you're going to get a lot of opportunities. The team's investing that much money in you. You need to go. Like it's time to go. Like you don't know. Like so you don't know if you go to college if that opportunity is going to be there. In 3 years from now, 4 years from now. So that's the only time I would tell you to sign. But I think it's all individual. You got to kind of figure out what you want, what fits good for your family, and then what you truly want to do. Like you just want to play professional baseball, great, do it. But if you want to go to school and get your degree or work towards your degree, and then maybe get drafted as a junior or senior, like I don't think there's any correct answer really. It's all about what they value and what they truly want.
Right.
That kind of makes what Kyler Murray did a little bit surprising, because I believe he was a top 7 pick in the MLB draft and still went and played football in college, kind of really rolling the dice, especially playing football where, you could be injured in any given play. I mean, it turned out all right for him. I'm just, you probably don't see that as much.
No, that shows you what kind of athlete he is. Like
right.
And he had baseball as like his fallback plan,
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out in football, I'm going to go play baseball. So
crazy.
No.
So after having lived a full season of it, how do you feel the major professional sports are handling kind of everything going on with the pandemic?
You know what? I think I really, after going through it and seeing like the ball behind the scenes, all the testing and all the protocols, I really think that every league has done a really good job. I thought Major League Baseball did a really good job. I don't think MLB had a positive test for like the last 40, 50 days of the season.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that shows that like what we were doing was working and guys were following the protocols. I think baseball, excuse me, is actually the easiest sport probably to follow these protocols because you can control your time like at the facility better. You can spread out more. You're on the field. You're not around guys. We can work in groups a little easier. There's not as many guys on the team as a football team. And even basketball has less players, but once the games start, and even in practice, if you're going up and down, you're going to be next to the guys. You're going to have close contact. So I think baseball is probably the easiest to kind of police that. But I really think it's the way that the virus is now, people are going to get it. I mean, it's and that's what they told us. It's not about. It wasn't about like us trying not to have zero positives. It was us trying to, if we did have a positive, that it didn't spread. That was the main thing that we were trying to protect against. And because the protocols weren't there to eliminate the virus, they were there to protect people from spreading it. So I think, and you see in baseball had a couple times where I think it was the Cardinals and the Marlins, there was some outbreaks that kind of got to more than, a few guys, and they had to kind of delay their seasons a little bit. It's happened in football. College basketball is going through right now, and who knows what the NBA is going to do with not being in the bubble. But I thought the bubble with the NBA was great. I thought that was a really good operation. I thought they did a really good job. That went smooth. Obviously, they had no issues with any players missing time there, and it was actually a good product. It was fun to watch. I didn't even know, you couldn't even tell they were in the bubble during the games. I thought they did a really good job with that. But it's so challenging. There's so many different variables. Early on with this whole pandemic, everything was changing day to day, week to week. So you have to be able to adjust. But I really think all the leagues have done a really good job because we're still trying to live our lives normally when we can't, So it's a challenge. But I think it's been good.
All right. Here we go. What would you say was the best game you've ever pitched in your career?
Best game I ever pitched in? It was probably, I think it was 2009. It was actually a Sunday night game on ESPN against the Red Sox. We ended up sweeping the Red Sox. So this is the third game of the series. So we had the game was kind of cool because we had our bullpen was we had nobody left in our bullpen. Everybody had been pitching a lot. our starter for that game wasn't available. I forget who was supposed to start, but he wasn't available. I think he had some weird injury like the day before, and it was basically the guy that was filling in for the starter was Dustin Nippert. He was in our bullpen, and then it was me. I was like the next guy in the bullpen. It was basically they told us, "You guys got the game tonight. It's you two." So there's really nobody else available. We were going to try to get through the game with me and Nippert. So Nippert started. He went 5 and like a third, and he pitched great. I think he gave up like 1 run, and I came in after him, and I ended up throwing the rest of the game. I threw 3 and 2/3 scoreless. Got the save. I think we won the game like 3-1. But that I always go back to that one. That was probably the best I felt in a major league game, and just like the execution I had that night and just the confidence I had that night. It was a Sunday night game. It was on ESPN. We had a great crowd playing the Red Sox. It was one of those nights where you just, whether you play professional or not, or you're playing pickup basketball or whatever, like it's one of those games where you just feel like you're locked in and like you're everything you do is going the right way. It was one of those nights. Unfortunately, I didn't put enough of those games together to stick around the big leagues, but that's the one I always go back to. That I really like. It's fun to think about. And I think that was my one and only save I had in the big leagues too. Was a 3 and like 2/3 inning save against the Red Sox, something like that. I think it might have been 3 1/3 innings. Cause I think I came in and got the last out of the 6th inning. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, a quick story real fast. I went to the batting cages last year, and I tried to hit like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and according to my body structure, it didn't work out. It was a nice effort. But so my question is, who was the most famous person you had the pleasure of striking out?
Most famous person, probably Alex Rodriguez.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I struck him out, but it was a game in Yankee Stadium. It was 2010, and I struck him out. But then he hit a home run off me that game. I think it was his next at bat off me. So I got him, and then he got me. So he's probably the most famous, most known guy that I struck out. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head. But he's it for sure. Yeah.
But think about that for a minute. Like how you said you didn't get to stick around as long as you'd like, but you've had, as you said earlier in the show, what a lot of us dream of. You've had that experience. You got to go against A-Rod in Yankee Stadium. Like, it doesn't even matter if he got one off you, whatever. Just the fact that you were good enough to be there in that moment, I think is fantastic.
Right.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't regret it, but it's always like you want to be better. But I look back at it now, like now that I'm so far removed from playing, like I do appreciate things now. But I really think my playing career was it was good. It was great. I don't regret anything I did, but I think my playing career really helped me up to coach and be a coach. I really truly believe that. I think I was good enough to get to the big leagues, but I think the things I learned, the things that the experiences I've had, and the people I've been able to be around and talk to have helped me be the coach I am and be who I am as a coach. And I don't know if I would have played longer, if I would have been a coach, if I would have wanted to do that. I think the trajectory I took as a player really made me kind of realize, like, hey, like, what am I going to do when I'm done? And I really started to pay attention to certain things the last probably 3 or 4 years of my career, because I kind of knew that I was, probably not going to be hanging around that long. And I wanted to stay in the game. I love baseball. So I think that made me kind of recognize, hey, maybe you're not going to play as long as you wanted, but how else can you be involved in the game? And I started paying attention to going down that coaching route, so.
This might be another good addition, another perspective for our coaches roundtable. We'll have to remember that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. And also, since you had brought that up, the goal of coaching is to stay as a pitching coach, go to a manager, or go into the front office, or is anything with baseball is fine with you at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to coach. I don't ever want to manage. I think managing it's not for me. For managing is really, really hard. There's a lot of stuff you have to deal with. It's not just putting a lineup out, and there's a lot of work. Our manager, Chris Woodward, does a good job just with managing personalities and communicating. It's a lot. It's tough. Then you got to deal with the media and then front office and all that stuff's great. But I love being a pitching coach. I truly enjoy it, and I'm in a position now where I've got the opportunity to be a pitching coach in the big leagues, and I'm going to try to do that as long as I can and be as good as that as long as I can. But I also take the mindset of I don't really care where I'm coaching. I truly believe that, and I truly mean that. I'm happy coaching, an A-ball or high A, low A, double A. That's not the ultimate top level, but I think with you when you get into coaching and you're going down that path, it's not about you anymore. It's about the players. You got to be there for them. And no matter where you're at, you have to be able to be someone that the players trust, to be able to someone the players know that you can help them. But if you're coaching just to try to get to the top and that's all you're worried about, you're not going to be the best coach you can be. And the players kind of see through that too. So I think that's helped me in my approach to coaching is that, I want to have the best job I can, but I also want to be able to, no matter where I'm at, do the best job I can. It doesn't matter to me. And the only thing that really changes with level to level or job opportunity is the money and the pressure and the expectations of where you're at. So, but when you really break it down, whether you're in the big leagues or in rookie ball coaching a kid, it's still all about the players. It's still about them. You're still there to help them. You're still there to guide them to be the best, version of themselves they can be. So I think if you approach it that way, it makes it a lot easier coming to work every day.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit because I know you love all sports. So tell me, for you, who are your college basketball and football teams, and kind of what are your predictions for those teams going forward, whether it's for making it through the year or whatever?
Okay, I'll start with my favorite college basketball teams, University of Arizona. Been a big fan of theirs growing up since I was younger. They've had all that stuff going on lately with the scandals and whatnot, and I think that's hurt their recruiting recently. They're gonna struggle this year. They got a whole new starting five. They had a lot of guys like every year, most years they have guys go to the NBA and they lose their top 2 or 3 players every year. So they're kind of always recycling guys. I think they're going to struggle. I think they're going to be probably middle of the Pac-12. I don't expect much. But I will say this: the year they won the national title, they were 19-7 that year. So
that's true.
You just got to get into the tournament. You never know what happens. So, and especially with college kids, you never know how those kids are going to progress throughout the year. Since I went to Missouri, I follow them as well, all their sports, but not as closely on the basketball. College football, and I'm not really I don't have one team I follow in college football. I probably follow Missouri the most just because I went to school there. They had a big win yesterday against Arkansas. But I actually like watching Big Ten football a lot for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's my father-in-law's a big Wisconsin fan, so we watch a lot of those games. But yeah, and then obviously I was being a U of A fan. I watched U of A football, but they're terrible. They lost again last night. I think they've lost 11 in a row.
It's 11 in a row. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are. They play. I think they play ASU next week or the following week. So that's going to be.
U of A is a disaster right now.
Yeah, they're not good. But I'm really when it comes to college, I'm a really big U of A basketball fan. That's where I am.
The cool thing about U of A is the homegrown kid that went up here to Pinnacle High School, Nico Mannion.
Yep.
He went to U of A and then got drafted by the Warriors.
Yeah, I think that's actually going to be a good situation for him. Even though he fell in the draft. I think that's going to be a good thing for him because he'll get to obviously Steve Kerr is going to coach him, and then he gets to learn from Steph Curry.
He's going to learn from Steph, yeah. And there's no pressure.
I imagine that being a bad situation for him. Yeah. So I think that I was disappointed he left UVA. Like anybody, like you want your best players to stay there, but I get it. Yeah. But UVA is going to struggle. They're going to be down this year.
Yeah, I know. Sean Miller's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I don't. It's with you. The thing that's frustrating about UVA is like they talk about all these. They have like top 5, top 10 recruiting classes every year, and they haven't done much in the tournaments. They haven't. I think they've made it to a couple Elite Eights and over the time that Miller's been there, and they have all this NBA talent that comes through there. And I know there's other programs that do the same thing, but they haven't really got past that over that hump. I don't see it happen anytime soon. So
no, I don't either.
But I still love them. I love watching them. I love watching the games.
That's what's so hurtful about being a fan. Trust me, I know. I'm a damn Suns fan. These guys give me hell all the time.
Yeah, I'm a Suns fan too, so I'm right there with you.
Lakers fans up here.
Y'all might be pretty good this year. I like the way what y'all did in free agency, though.
I like what they did. James Jones is doing a good job.
Yeah, I think y'all did a great job. Yeah, but we still got to beat the Lakers, which probably ain't going to happen. So
no,
they're too tough. They got better. That's the sad part. Like, and this is one of the things people do, right? They always they get on me because I get so worked up about what the Suns do, and look how they had to struggle to do what they just did, right? And then you just watch the Lakers win a championship and get better. They just retool, and they're a completely different team and better. And I'm like, God, leave, man.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why the Lakers are the Lakers. Like guys want to play there. They have a tradition. They got an unbelievable fan base, and they're in LA. Like, there's not a lot of negatives.
Right.
The only negative is you get taxed more in California. So
that's true. God, here he goes. Jeez.
I had to do it. I really have a question. Going back to the baseball, and when you were a coach or a player, did you have a routine before every game? And what was it?
As a player, as a starting pitcher, I always had a routine. Like, you have like your 5-day routine, and you try to do, similar things on similar days, and try to if you're superstitious or whatever, but it's more of just like making sure you're like feeling good. And like you figure out things like, whether it's like eating a certain lunch or making sure whatever you wear, like you might wear the same outfit every time you start or whatever, just stupid things like that. But it's more of like your routine of like what happens when you get to the field, like how you're preparing, what you do each day. That's a big thing we preach to our players is like make sure you have a good routine of what makes you ready to go that day. And then, not just like, because if you think of it as a pitcher, like, especially if you're a reliever, or even if you're a starter, you're pitching once every 5 days. And then as a reliever, you might not pitch. You don't pitch every day. You might pitch, every other day or every, 2. You might have 3-4 days off at times. So you have to do things that keep you sharp and keep you prepared. And it's not just about like preparing. It's about like how you recover and like what you're doing post game. And like, obviously you're getting enough sleep and you're doing the right things. Like when it comes to looking at video and advanced reports and all that stuff gets tied together. As a coach, I think it's easier as a coach to have a routine just because as a coach, you're like in charge of what's going on that day or that week, and you can like stay on point with stuff. As a coach, it's just being prepared with like the day-to-day operations of what's going on. I don't have any like superstitions as a coach, but I think it's just making sure the players have everything they need and you're communicating, and that I try to work a day ahead. So after the games, I usually try to do, get stuff in line for whether it's stuff conversations you want to have with the players. The next day, you kind of do your homework on certain things and certain maybe stats or things you want to go over with the guys the next day. So you're prepared, and then you come in. And a lot of times, coaches go to the field a lot earlier than the players. So when you go in, you're kind of like you can kind of there and prepare, go over what you're going to do that day. Go over who's got like bullpen throwing their sides that day. Who needs what. Communicate with the guys. Maybe look at more video. Talk to some of the other coaches. It's just a constant loop, and then you do it all over again the next day, and then it's just like and it just you kind of keep stacking days like that on top of each other. So it's really about communicating and making sure you're not missing stuff as a coach.
Okay.
All right. Now, I know Deion Sanders had a crazy routine of laying out his uniform on the ground as he got dressed. Did any of your players do anything, even teammates or as a coach, have any routines that you kind of looked at and went, what are you really doing?
There's a lot of players that have a lot of crazy things they do. There's some guys that'll those are custom teammates I've had that have when they go to hit, they'll just go hitting their sliders and that's it. They'll go they'll hit off the tee with just basically their underwear on, and that's what they do. And some guys will I don't know, it's just stuff like that. It's just, and there's all a lot of guys they'll get dressed at this. They don't get dressed until a certain time, or they do this at this time, and they have to have this this meal at this time. A lot of players are very they have to have, but then it's kind of crazy. If guys start going bad, then they got to change everything, and they try to make adjustments to it. So they kind of get crazy with it. So it's funny, man. Athletes are funny. They got to feel good. They got to be in the right mindset. So whatever helps them out, it's pretty fun. But I think guys doing that, hitting on their underwear, was the weirdest thing I ever saw. So
it's kind of like Serrano off Major League. Remember?
Yeah. Yep. And there's some guys I've heard of, guys some pitchers or whatever, they'll put red hot and between their legs, for lack of better description. I don't want to go too detailed, but they'll just get them going a little bit, So yeah, so that I've heard of guys doing that.
Well, that'll wake you up.
Yeah, they do that because they want to be.
Oh man!
Yeah. Oh my God!
King, before you go off topic,
okay.
Let me ask Doug. I'll ask it in kind of two different ways. What was either your favorite pitch to throw or your go-to pitch? If you knew I got to get this guy out, this is the pitch I'm going to.
My favorite pitch to throw was probably my curveball, especially a little later in my career. It actually developed pretty good. But if I had to throw a pitch to get to have an out, I just threw my sinker. That was my go-to. But looking back on it now, it's kind of funny the way the game's changed. Then things I've learned, I pitched completely different than I should have. I threw a lot of sinkers. I should have been throwing a lot of four seams and trying to throw balls up higher in the strike zone. Just knowing with the kind of stuff I had. So, but that question too can change from year to year too. That answer to that question. Some years I felt really good with my slider. Some years I felt really good with my four seam fastball. It just depends. But I like throwing my curveball. I still, when I play catch with players, I like to spin curveballs. I like to do that. I like to mess around with it. Try to.
You gotta show him you still got it.
I do it every now and then. But then now I'm not that old yet. But now I'll throw some pitches sometimes, and I'm like, I didn't feel very good. So I gotta watch it.
That's anytime I throw any. God, man. I got a quick question for you.
That's it. I'm done for the day.
Doug, what is the most intimidating stadium to play in?
Oh, that's a good question.
Intimidating stadium to play in. I mean, the easy answer would be Yankee Stadium, but I don't think it is, just because it's so big and spread out. It's not as loud as you think it would be. I've never played in the old Yankee Stadium, but I heard the old Yankee Stadium was a lot different. The fans were more right on top of you, and it was a different atmosphere there. I think Fenway's tough just because it's always packed. Obviously, they have a great fan base, but then as a pitcher, you turn around, you got that green monster right there. It's not that far. It's not that far away. So you're and then center field's not that deep either. So, and then you got loud fans, they're, singing Sweet Caroline in the 8th inning. And if you're pitching then, and, I would say for me, probably Fenway, just because the atmosphere there, the walls right there, everyone feels like they're right on top of you. For me, that was probably the most intimidating, but you can make any situation feel intimidating. I remember my first start in the old Twins stadium, the indoor stadium. They don't have anymore. That was maybe my first start there, and I was intimidated just because it was loud. I'd never pitched really in an indoor stadium like that, and we were playing the Twins, and they were pretty good at the time. I think it's any situation like that, but the good ones are able to block that stuff out, and they don't care who they're facing. They just go out and attack the hitters, and they don't care where they're at.
They're just dialed in.
Yeah. So that's what separates the guys like me from the guys that are really good. They believe in their ability, and they don't care who they're facing or where they're facing. So.
Wow.
You know what?
Okay.
One question before King gets started.
Okay.
Like they said, I am a Cowboys fan, so I went to the new stadium, and you guys' stadium is right next door. Mm-hmm. So during a regular, before pandemic, football and baseball season kind of switches over, to kind of play at the same time. That has to be difficult knowing the Cowboys play, say at 4 and you guys play later on that day, or vice versa. Yeah. There's really not that much parking in that area.
No. Yeah, it's. I remember when I was a player with the Rangers at the old stadium, which is right across the street too. They try their best to not schedule Cowboys games whenever the Rangers have Sunday games, but there's sometimes where there's conflict, and it's a nightmare. There's so many people in that area, and depending on who we're playing as the Rangers, right. There might be like if we're playing the Yankees or the Red Sox or teams that draw well, like there's tons of people for the baseball game, and then there's tons of people for the football game, and it can take a long time getting in and out of there. But I've experienced that as a player, and the guys still talk about that. Say like, when there's a Cowboys game, we have a game. It's a nightmare. But it's a cool area. I mean, it's fun. Like the Cowboys Stadium is right there, and then that whole new area they have is pretty cool. The whole Texas Live areas, it's pretty sweet. And then our stadium is right down the street. I was actually going to go to one of the when the Cardinals played the Cowboys. I was going to go to that game, but because of the pandemic, we didn't get to go. So, but it's a nightmare. Sometimes it takes like an hour to get out of there. It's tough.
Make for some crazy tailgating.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because if you look at the stadiums and where they're set up, it looks like if you was in the Ranger Stadium, you can throw a baseball and hit somebody at AT&T Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to walk right between them, and it's because my mom went, and I was like, if they ever had 2 games at one time,
that's wild.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, but that's for a reason.
I knew the Warriors and the 49ers once dealt with something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I know the A's and the Warriors have too, but that was when the A's don't draw that much. So they're out there, and they used to be out there in Oakland, so right next to the A's stadium, the Coliseum.
Yep.
Well, thankfully we don't have to go through that much because it can be a big hassle.
That would be
all right.
So we're off topic?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Doug. We start off on a good note today. Let's keep it this way. So we have this segment called Off Topic, and we ask the same question to all of our guests on the show. And the question is, who's a better player, Kobe Bryant or LeBron James?
Ooh.
And
this is what determines if the show airs, Doug.
Before we go into that, I like to say I'm more of an MJ guy first. So, but not saying that Kobe or LeBron aren't good. I grew up watching MJ do his thing. So, shoot, man, I'd have to lean towards Kobe. I think I had to lean that way, not because he's gone, but I think Kobe. For me as a fan watching the game, like I think Kobe. I mean, LeBron's all power and. But Kobe was Kobe was finesse, and he could do what he wanted whenever he wanted, and he can get his shot whenever he wanted. to me, LeBron's got a different game, which I think LeBron is right there with him. But I think Kobe, I think can do a little more than LeBron can. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from him. LeBron's had a great career, but I lean towards Kobe just because I appreciate Kobe's game a little more. But LeBron is like a freight train coming at you too. So, he's special. LeBron's kind of like, he's kind of like a combination of a lot of guys that can score with the passing ability of Magic, and he's special with throwing up triple doubles whenever he wants. But like I said, I appreciate Kobe's game just because there's a night he can go off for 50, 60 points whenever he wants, and I would answer that question like, who would you want taking that? I would ask the question like, who would you want taking that last shot? I probably want Kobe taking the last shot, in my opinion.
Every time.
So.
Every night, I don't care if it's 3-on-1, take it.
Yeah, every time.
And I mean, not saying LeBron couldn't do the same thing, but I would bet on Kobe, taking that last shot. So.
Yeah. Hey, he's a certified killer, as King would say.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. I was watching the birth of a dynasty, and it was the Indiana series.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying when Shaq fouled out in overtime and Kobe took over, Brian Shaw said, "That's when I knew." No, Derek Fisher. He said, "That's when I knew he was going to be one of the greats." That's when the killer of Kobe was born at that series. And I said, okay. And I started seeing what everybody kept saying. LeBron he's a great player, like Doug was saying, but if you want that cutthroat assassin mentality, you gotta go.
Yeah. I think those questions are always like, they're fun to debate too, because you put Kobe with some of the roster. I know Kobe's had good rosters to play with too, but if you put Kobe with Chris Paul and Vash, like, man, what would that look like? I don't know. Like,
oh
yeah. But I mean, the one thing about LeBron, I give him credit. I respect him that he went back to Cleveland and did what he did and brought a championship to Cleveland. I think LeBron too gets, he gets a lot of criticism. And the only year he wasn't in the finals was, I think, couple years ago, right, or last year. He's always in the finals.
He lives there.
I think he gets like some criticism that probably isn't warranted, but the people like to hate on winners. So people, they like to talk about and follow people's journeys, and then all of a sudden when people start winning too much, the same thing with like Tom Brady. Like, people hate Tom Brady, but all Tom Brady's done in his career is win. What's wrong with that? So I just think it's kind of funny when you win too much, it's like it turns into a bad thing. So
that is pretty much the cycle, though. If you really watch it, you get this team, and even when we talk about Golden State, Golden State was a perennial bottom dweller for decades, and they draft this great team. But what I think hurt them, I think everybody pretty much loved the fact that they drafted that team and those guys got good together. Yeah. But it was when Durant went over there, that it really started going south for them because they didn't really need him.
Yeah, no, but I mean that's part of the game though. Like,
yeah,
you have to be able to, they have free agency for a reason, and guys can choose where they want to go.
That's it.
I just hope one of my teams I root for becomes being one of the hated teams. That means that they're winning.
I pray for the day. I pray for the day. I pray for the day.
I will never have a problem if people hate me because I'm a Cardinals fan. Like, that means that we probably won a couple Super Bowls.
That's it. I know. I saw that framed Fitzy jersey behind you there.
Yep. I gotta hang it up. Yeah, I'm actually gonna do that today. Yeah.
Nice. Gentlemen, anything else from anybody?
Nah, that's pretty much it.
We good.
All I can say is, like Doc just mentioned earlier, we do have a segment called the Coaches Roundtable, and I am inviting you back for that. I know we all would love to, because we have coaches from basketball, football, track.
Yeah. Yep.
So you would be right in, and I think, because I'm not a coach, all you guys are coaches. It's my time to sit back and just enjoy the conversations.
I'd love to be on it. I appreciate it. I had a good time talking to you guys today.
It would be good to have some baseball representation.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think too, like, coaching is coaching. I think like not if you don't have to get specific with like the sport. I think a lot of coaching is they share a lot of similarities in a lot of sports. Like you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to get guys to buy into things and trust you. A lot of that is what makes good coaches is because they understand how to connect with players. And I think that's truly one of the most important skills to have as a coach is to connect with the players and deliver the right messages. A lot of people have, more knowledge than me or a lot of coaches have a ton of knowledge, but it's all about how you deliver all that knowledge and how you can communicate on a day-to-day basis with the guys. So I think that's when you really see value with coaches.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's going to be good to have.
I'll be back for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mr. Doug Mathis from 4G Sports, we appreciate you coming on to show with us. It was another great show. All your insight was just really appreciated, and we're glad you were able to come on. Yeah. All of your contact information will be on the show description. And for all of you, we want you to thank you for watching and subscribing to 4G Sports. As OG said earlier, this episode was brought to you by Miss Daphne Cozy from My Cozy Creations. I'm going to sign off today in the midst of a surge to all my healthcare workers out there that are really going through it right now. I know the hospitals are getting crazy. It's getting wild out there. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Social distance when you can. And just, try to make it through this surge.
Well
said.
said.
Sir. Yes, sir. Doug, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead, Doug. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's right. I'm just kicking off to Doug. Doug, you got any sign off, any shout outs, anything you want to say? This is your moment.
No, I just want to say thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It was, like I said, great talking to you guys. But, I think, going through this year, really kind of put things in perspective. And I think what you just said, Scott, is I 100% agree. There's still a lot, even though we're talking about sports and we have sports back there still are things in the world that are more important, not just from the pandemic, but there's still a lot of stuff in our world that need to change. And I think that we need to pay attention to, and I think going through it this year and having players in mind that I was around, talking to them and understanding what they go through on a day-to-day basis, how they've come up in this world is really kind of opened my eyes a little bit this year, and it's for the better. I think this year kind of helped change me a little bit, for the better, and I see things a little differently now. So I think we need to just be conscious of who we are as human beings and understand that we're all in this together. This isn't it's not a team sport. We should all be on the same team. We're all pulling up the same strings, So I think that's one thing I've learned this year is that all that crap doesn't matter,
Absolutely. That is a great sign off.
Facts. For me, I want to give a sign out to all the kids that are playing winter sports right now. For all those guys to be safe. And like you said, Doc, wash your hands. Practice social distancing. I know it's going to be kind of hard with winter sports coming around, basketball and all the other sports, wrestling, all these other things that are going on right now. Just be safe and, just keep all these people in prayer. For the ones that are sick, that are in the hospital, keep them in prayer. And hopefully we can all get through this surge that's going on right now because it's pretty serious. It's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Right. You guys have basically really signed it off. I can't add anything else to it. Besides, I could crack a joke, but let's keep it serious at this moment. No, seriously, because we keep saying the same thing. Wash your hands. I think you should have been doing that as a kid. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by cracking a joke.
For real.
Some things as an adult and kids should already know. Wash your hands, not being nasty. But but no, seriously, everyone take care. Be safe. I know Christmas is coming up. I know we just came through Thanksgiving. I know that's the time for family, but maybe you need to stick to your family circle that's in your house. Do things a little bit different this year. So when we come around next year, there's a big blowout. All right?
Yeah.
Before we sign out, Sports Mom just sent me this. Rudy Giuliani is tested positive for COVID-19 after hearing at the Capitol and meeting with Georgia lawmakers. So, what does that tell you now? Two major people in power up top keep saying this is not nothing to be worried about. That set it up. Okay?
I'm saying, man. It's here, man.
It's done. I'm you walking around talking about an election with no mask, and now you got COVID. You're gonna go to the hospital, come out and say you were touched by God, just like the president. All right. I'm done. If you have any comments, you can say whatever you want. Hit us up at 4G Sports, sports with the D at gmail.com. You can follow us on all social medias. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, IG, and SoundCloud at 4G Sports, and that's Sports with the Z. Gentlemen, thank you again.
I didn't say it yet this episode, yo. Hit that bell.
That, you know what? Let's start it over. If you want to know what we're doing, you have to hit the subscribe button. And what they have to do, Pat?
You got to hit that bell.
All right, there we go. If he doesn't say that once, then we definitely out of control on that day.
What are we doing here?
Before we leave, if anyone can figure out what is our new favorite cookie for this show. Think about what I said and think back a couple episodes ago. So delightful. That's a hint. They're so delightful.
Oh my God.
On that note, 4Gs, we out.